So without any further ado, Ted, I guess I know you're here. So why don't you share your screen and take it away?
All right. Thank you very much, Magnus. Thank you, everyone, for joining this today. And thank you for having me here as well. So my name is Ted Elvhage, and I'm one of the co-founders of Rymdkapital, which is the first venture capital fund for space tech, purely for space tech in the Nordics and also North Europe. So I thought that today we're going to talk about Earth observation. And I just wanted to set the scene a little bit and talk about, the economics around Earth observation. So hopefully after this, if you are a startup, you might be able to see, a couple of places you could go to get some more data on the market for Earth observation and maybe build your company even better. And even if you've never done anything with space before, maybe after this, you could do that. And if you're an investor, I'd like to tell you how big the market is and where the opportunity is. And maybe tell you why I decided a couple of years ago to do nothing else than space and space tech. So basically, I ran a lot of different kind of investments in the past, and I decided to sell all of that. I'm selling all my real estate business. I'm selling all the other businesses, and I'm only doing space because for me, this is the biggest opportunity we can join for the future, not only for monetary reasons, but also for sustainability reasons and for the planet. And as you can see on this first slide, Rymdkapital is investing in space for the benefit of Earth. So sometimes when I speak about space, people get very excited about going to Mars or wherever they want to go. And they don't realize that already today, we actually have about 10 to 50% of the BNP in Europe is actually dependent on space for different reasons. A simple thing like a stock exchange transaction cannot be done without satellites. Bank transactions, the timestamp is from satellites. You drive a car, you need to navigate somewhere. Well, guess what happens without the satellites? You'll end up somewhere else. So with that, I'll start with, see if I can change my screen here. I thought I could, yeah. So just a couple of words who we are. So me, I'm Ted Elvhage. I've been investing in space for a while together. One of my co-founders, Ulf Palmnäs, he's been in space for more than 40 years. And recently we got a guy, Philip, who came from the Czech Republic. He's been running his own space tech investment company, and now for some reason is in Sweden and decided to join forces with us, which we are really happy to say. And if you haven't met Philip before, reach out to him. He's actually publishing a report every year called Space Funding Dynamics, which is really good. He's following like 150 companies where you can get some insights on where should you invest. And if you're a venture, you can look at who else is doing what I'm doing. So that's just for some reasons to show up. Of course, we have some advisors in this, and I won't tell you all of this, but you probably recognize Christer Fuglesang, one of our astronauts, his wife Lisa Fuglesang, who's also been around for a long time. And then you recognize some of the large space corporations we have here. And now to the meat, since we don't have that much time to discuss this. The global space economy, and this is stolen with pride or copied by with pride from ESA, the European Space Agency, and the source of the information is from Euroconsult, the Space Economy Report for 2022, and it's available online if you want it. So the global space economy was 460 billion euros. And on the one side, you see the institutional spending was about 100 billion euros. And then you see on the commercial markets, which is actually the private market, as 360 billion euros, which is really interesting, which means actually when people said, well, that's really just for big governments to do, that's not really true, because actually, it's actually for private companies, people like you and me investing in it, entrepreneurs like yourself, getting into the business and doing this. Now, another interesting thing is that if you look at the one side, you see the institutional spending. You can see that on the upstream, which is usually called like rockets and stuff and satellites, is like 60%, or most of it is actually going up on that side. But if you look on the private side, you can see that the upstream is basically not that much, and the downstream, Earth observation and other stuff, is actually much larger, which means this is where we have the market opportunity, guys. And I'll just show you another funny thing around in the public investment space. I'm not going to spend much time on this slide, but as you can see, the US is the largest one, but Europe is quite big as number two. It's maybe not number two because you don't really know what the numbers are from China and Russia, but we are up there anyway. So we're up on the top for the public numbers that we can see. All this means that 4% generated revenues from commercial satellite operations. And, you know, if you look at the downstream, you see 96% generated from commercial service revenue. And you come down to that, you know, 67% was like the satellite, and you have satellite communication, 32%, and Earth observation, which the EO, which we're going to talk more about, is only 1%. What does that mean? That means it's a massive opportunity. And of the 80 billion, Europe is actually capturing 1/4 of that global commercial market on the downstream private side, which means it's a massive opportunity in Europe. And just looking at this graph, you can say that the last year, the spending, the private investment went down globally, everywhere, except for Europe, where it went up. And you can see this line going up, which means that Europe is the place to be, and European companies are the ones you want to invest in. This is where shit is getting real. So I'm just trying to give you the setup that you should really be investing in Earth observation and sort of downstream in Europe. Now, why should you be doing that? Well, you can see the yellow lines. We're going like from 460 billion to 1 trillion. And what's driving this is the price of launch, you know, going to be divided by 3. We have a higher payload capacity. We have a higher launch rate. We have, you know, new regulations coming in to clear up space. People are worried about there's going to be too much debris in space. We're probably going to talk a little bit about that. And space as a service and in-orbit manufacturing. All these things are coming into play to make Europe the hub for space. So all of us are actually users of navigation. So just give you a couple of examples. You can't even, you know, do farming anymore without satellites. If you did, your yield in a country like the US would go down like 40 to 60%. That's immense for the satellite navigation. Of course, you have the Earth observation, where we're looking at farms, trees, shipping, and you'll hear many good examples today. But these are things that we see every day. So the reason we invest in space is for the benefit of Earth. Now, I'm showing this slide because there's something called EUSPA in Europe, European Space Project Agency, and they publish a report that can give you much more details on where you can invest in space. And if you look at this next slide, these are all the verticals just coming out of what they're doing right now. So basically, we're bringing space to these verticals. And if you're today not utilizing space, you should, because it's sometimes the only way, and most often the cheapest way, to do whatever you're doing today, and much more efficient. So with that said, Cassini, which is also something that USPA is running, is a place, if you're a venture today, if you're a founder, if you're a deep tech founder or something, this is where you want to go and be a part of. And you'll see some of the other participants today talking about this. And this is where you can go to get some more help if you want to get into space. And if you're an investor, there's actually a deal room where you can go and you can see all the listed that has been through the casino matchmaking, and you'll see there's actually lots and lots and lots of space companies. So with that, I just want to say that from Rymdkapital, we want to find more of you co-investors. We want to find more of your entrepreneurs, and we want to support you, and we want to be a part of your journey. So with that, thank you very much for having me. And if I spoke too fast, just go back and do slow motion, and you'll get the gist of the whole story. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ted. Wonderful, as always. I get so inspired every time I listen to you. So I'll see if we have any questions on the chat. It doesn't look like that. Let me ask you a question. I was told the other day, actually, that the capacity of putting satellites in orbit is a limitation to a lot of the, specifically the developer company, the young companies. Is that right, or is that something you realize? And it's if so, what's done with that?
Yes, I mean, it really is. I mean, one of the things that many space companies who want to put stuff up to space, what they have to do is what we call in-orbit validation or in-orbit verification and or demonstration. And in order to do that, you need to send something up. And what happened is that in Europe, we don't have our own capacity. And we used to work a lot with Russia, a lot with China. And of course, we still work a lot with, US and also India. And but we don't have our own capacity right now because there's been like a gap between, the old spaceships and the new spaceships or rockets. So we are in a little bit of a pickle, which means that we actually have to stand in line to get experiments up to space. And we really want to do this because, like, in pharma, for instance, you want to try like new cell things going on. Cells growing in zero gravity will grow differently. You can build new materials in up there. So that's right. We don't have enough elevators going up to space. So that's true. We need to fix that. Now, the good thing is that there are a couple of really nice micro launchers and launcher companies, and also we'll have the large ones still catching up. And there are new initiatives going into this. So this will be fixed. But right now, at this moment, there's a big line lining up.
I see. I have a question for you from the chat. With the good prospects Ted presents, how is that Swedish venture capital is minimal in relation to Finland or in relation to deep tech in Stockholm? That's something for you.
Yes, I love that question. So thank you very much for asking that question. Well, this is my personal view. I don't have, this is my gut feeling answer on this one. So, someone will prove me wrong at some point. But for the longest time in Sweden, we did a lot of digitization. And Magnus, you started out that we just gave it away. Not all of it, because we built some really fairly big companies and really good companies. But when it came to deep tech and engineering and the stuff that things actually been promoting for a long time, not that many people actually invested in it. That was something that you invested in-house in your corporations and things. And actually, if you look at it, go back from like 2006 and all that, most of those were business-to-business consumer apps or business consumer sort of things, or business consumer. But now we're talking about business-to-business advanced technologies, industries, and there was no one really investing it in the past. But we are seeing a change in that. So, for instance, if you look in Sweden, you have Investpudden. They always did that. I mean, they did it like a sidestep for a while, doing a lot of other things as well. They've always been good at deep tech. And you look at Fairpoint Capital, they're also good at deep tech. You look at some of the family offices, pretty good at deep tech. You look at EQT Ventures. In the beginning, I thought, this is my bias. Sorry, everyone, if you look at this. They were only going to do business consumer, but they did not. They actually went back and did business to business. Deep tech, they actually invested in one of our portfolio companies in Germany. So we are getting that. And also then you go back to Finland, you say, well, we have Nordic Ninja, of course, but they're also based in Sweden. You had Voima in Finland, but they also came to Sweden. So the thing is that we just needed to get more. We had so much traction on the business to business consumer that we didn't need to make money on these other things. But now we do. And now you'll see much more capital in Sweden, including Rymdkapital.
Great. So I don't have any other questions. I think we leave. I know you have to go as well. So thank you so much, Ted, and good luck onwards, and hope to see you soon again. And
thank you. Thank you very much for having me here, and have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you.